Welcome back, everybody. So today I want to talk about this new TV right behind me, the 2022 Samsung Frame. Now, I've had the 2020 version of the Frame for about 2 years now here in my office, and I was a very big fan. The interchangeable bezels, the always-on display, which showed pictures and artwork, and it just really suited my office really nicely. And I would use it as my background for virtual Zoom court all throughout COVID, and it was really nice being able to control what I had behind me. But it wasn't perfect. The TV was really bad at reflecting glare, and it made it really difficult to use any sort of lighting in the room that would reflect off the TV. And I also found the user interface of the TV to be frustrating, as it was really slow and it only allowed you, I think, 2 gigabytes of storage, which was very limiting. So when I saw that the new Frame TV was being released with a matte screen to reduce glare, I found myself in a real dilemma. Could I justify buying a TV only 2 years after buying an earlier model? It seemed preposterous, but then Samsung did the old,
"Wait, there's more. Let me show you this."
They announced that the new Frame would have an auto-rotating feature, which would allow the TV to rotate into a portrait mode. And at that point, I knew I had no choice. My hands were also tied because I had recently moved into a new office, which was a corner office with considerably more windows, which would have resulted in even more glare. So I bought it. And it's fantastic. Again, not perfect, and I don't know if this would be an ideal TV for a household, but for my specific use application of an office TV, which just depicts pictures and art, it's such a nice addition. I've had it for about 3 weeks now, and I thought I'd share my thoughts about it. I got the auto-rotating mount with it as well, which cost an extra $500 Canadian. Samsung said that the installation of the auto-rotating mount would be quick and easy, and to their credit, it was. You mount a bracket on the wall, you screw a few plates onto the back of the TV, then you lift it and place it and drop it into its mount.
Set it.
I'd say it's probably even easier than installing it with the regular no-gap wall mount that's already included with it. With the auto-rotating wall mount, the TV is flush to the wall, but not as flush as it was with the original no-gap wall mount, which is a small price to pay for a rotating screen in my view. When the TV rotates from landscape to portrait mode, it appears to me at least to remain centered, meaning the TV appears to be centered whether it's in landscape or in portrait mode, which was good for me because the walls behind me had these columns on either side of them. I also got the beveled white bezel, which is more accented than the bezels on the previous model, which I think looks great, and it gives the TV a dimensional look and makes it look even less like a TV and more like an actual frame. Now, I want to talk about my 3 favorite features of this TV. The first is the UI upgrades. The previous model only gave you 2 gigabytes of storage, which really only allowed for about 200 or so pictures on a slightly lower resolution, which was not ideal. On this new TV, however, there is 8 gigabytes. But even better than that is the fact that the TV now allows you to show photographs directly from a USB drive. This is surprisingly a big feature because now you can load up as many high-quality photographs on a USB drive as you want and just show them directly from the drive itself rather than being limited to what's on the TV's hard drive. There are some drawbacks, unfortunately, such as the TV not allowing you to adjust the brightness when showing images from the USB drive, which means it is always on maximum brightness, which is unfortunate. Also, while the TV allows you to do a slideshow mode, it really is not the same regular slideshow mode, as it makes these sort of weird zoom pans and other things that make it annoying enough not to use. Second, the auto-rotating screen is just fantastic. I've never quite seen anything like it, and intrigues everyone who sees it. What I really like about it is how it considerably opens up the types of photographs that you can use with the frame. Before, you could only use a very select few images that look good cropped to a 16:9 aspect ratio, which excluded more than half of the amazing photographs I would have loved to have used on the TV. Now you have so many more options. It's definitely an expensive upgrade, but a worthy one, at least for me. Now finally, my favorite new feature is the matte display. I was thinking for some time about whether the rotating screen or the matte finish was more important, but I think if you were to have to remove a feature, this TV would be more limited by not having the matte screen. In an office setting, it just allows you to do so many more things. It also just so happened that as Samsung was releasing this new feature, I had been looking for a way to make my old Frame TV be a matte screen ever since I got my iMac with its nano textured screen. Just as my iMac worked impeccably well in a well-lit room with several windows, the new Frame just completely eliminates the shine of overhead lights, LED key lights, and natural lighting from windows. Now, as I said earlier, this TV is not perfect, and while I praised the frame's user interface earlier, it still leaves a lot to be desired. Samsung has made it very difficult to access your own stored photographs by burying it at the bottom of the art mode menu, meaning you have to scroll through a dozen or so leggy menu options before you can select your own pictures. Now, I get that Samsung wants to corral its users into buying its art subscription, which I don't think is that good, but I don't think anyone is going to be persuaded into buying into this. I think it's just going to make a lot of people frustrated. Also, there is no way of organizing your own photographs. And what I mean by that is if you want to play a slideshow of all your photographs, there's only two modes: random and sequential. And if you wanted to, say, create a subfolder just for portrait photographs and another just for landscape photographs, you can't do it. Now, that might not be so bad if the TV automatically rotated according to whether a photograph was in landscape or portrait mode, but the way it is currently, you can't just leave on a slideshow of mixed orientations without it looking funny. Lastly, my biggest gripe, and this is all over Reddit, is the fact that Samsung put this tape right on the screen in the packaging. And when you take it off, which I did ever so carefully, it leaves a residue. In my case, that residue is still on the TV. Some users on Reddit have come up with solutions of using alcohol and so forth, but I haven't bothered. It just, at least to me, seems so thoughtless that Samsung would release such a great TV with an amazing new finish and just throw on regular tape directly on top of the TV. So in closing, while it has its flaws, this TV is really great for my use case, which is as an office display. And really, that's the thing about the frame TVs in general. It's all about use cases. The picture quality, which I didn't really talk about at all, is probably subpar compared to other TVs in this price range. Some people might not think that it meets a threshold for a good home viewing TV when compared with OLED, say, but if you are looking for a TV that can stand out in a room and display images, then there's really nothing like it. So thanks for watching, everyone. If you have any questions about the TV, feel free to leave me a comment below and I'll try my best to answer. And subject to any questions, those are my submissions.